worked alone at a gas station off a highway exit in northern Ohio. It wasn't in a bad area, just isolated. Cornfields on both sides. One flickering streetlight in the parking lot. No security guard. No cameras outside. Just one old camera above the register that barely worked. I'm telling you that because what happened could have gone very differently. This happened about 2 years ago, and it started at 2:07 in the morning. Most overnight shifts were quiet. From 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., I'd maybe see 5 or 6 customers total. Truckers, the occasional insomniac. That was it. That night was completely dead. The kind of silence where the buzzing fluorescent lights almost sound loud. I was behind the counter scrolling on my phone when the front door chimed. I looked up. A tall guy walked in, early 30s, athletic build, hoodie and jeans. At first nothing seemed off. Then he stepped fully into the light. His clothes were soaked in blood. Not small stains, not streaks. Soaked. Across his chest, down both sleeves, splattered on his jeans like he'd walked through something violent. For a second my brain didn't register it as real. It looked fake, like something from a movie, but it wasn't. He walked calmly to the drink cooler. Didn't rush, didn't look around, didn't seem nervous. That's what made it worse. When he came to the counter with a bottle of water, I got a clear look at his face. There was no panic, no anger, just nothing. He saw me staring at the blood. Then he gave a small smile and said calmly, "Relax, it's not mine." That didn't make me feel better. If anything, it confirmed my worst thought. I didn't respond. I just rang him up. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the change. He paid in cash. Exact amount. Then he walked out. The door chimed. Silence again. The second I heard his engine start, I grabbed the store phone and called 911. I told the dispatcher a man covered in blood had just left the store. I described his height, his clothes, his car, dark sedan, maybe black. I was mid-sentence when the door chimed again. My stomach dropped. I slowly looked up. It was him. He must have seen me on the phone through the window. This time he wasn't smiling. He walked straight to the counter and said, "Did you just call the cops?" I said no. He stared at me for maybe 2 seconds. Then he jumped the counter. It happened fast. 1 second he was in front of me. The next he was on top of me. We slammed into the floor. He didn't yell. He didn't threaten me. He just put his hands around my throat and squeezed. I couldn't breathe. I tried to pull his hands off, but he was stronger. Way stronger. My vision started going dark at the edges. I remember thinking how stupid it was that this was how I was going to die, on a dirty gas station floor at 2 in the morning. So I did the only thing I could think of. "I have a gun," I yelled. "I'll shoot." I didn't, but I said it like I did. Something in my voice must have convinced him. He froze. Then he shoved himself off me and ran. I stayed on the floor for a few seconds trying to breathe. Police showed up about 10 minutes later. They took a report, asked questions, checked the parking lot. That was it. I never heard from them again. No arrest, no update, nothing on the news. I should have quit, but I needed the money, so I stayed. About 3 months later, another strange thing happened. It was around midnight when a different man walked in. He was wearing a dark gray suit, perfectly tailored, expensive watch, polished shoes. He didn't belong in a roadside gas station that late at night. He didn't browse, didn't grab anything. He walked straight to the counter and slid a photograph toward me. It was the same man from that night, the blood-covered guy. The picture wasn't perfect, but it was clearly him. The suited man asked, "Have you seen this person before?" His voice was calm, controlled. Something about him felt official, but he never showed a badge. Every instinct told me to deny it, so I said no. He stared at me for a long time, long enough that I started wondering if I looked nervous. Finally, he picked up the photo and turned toward the door. Before leaving, he stopped, turned back to me, and said quietly, "I know you're lying." Then he walked out. About a week later, I noticed a silver SUV parked across from the gas station during my shift. I didn't think much of it at first, until I saw the same SUV at the grocery store I go to, then parked halfway down my street one evening. Not directly outside my apartment, just close enough. After that, I started seeing it everywhere, always at a distance, never pulling up next to me, just watching. I live alone. That realization made it worse. 3 weeks after the suited man came in, I woke up at 3 a.m. to the sound of glass shattering. I grabbed the baseball bat I keep under my bed and went into the living room. No one was inside, but my window was broken, and there was a rock on the floor. No note, no message written, but I understood it. The next morning, I quit my job. Within a month, I moved to another town. 6 months later, I moved out of state entirely. I never saw the SUV again, but I still don't know what I was almost pulled into, and that wasn't the last time something like this happened to me. About 8 months ago, I was driving home from a construction job 3 hours away. It was late. Around 11 p.m., I was exhausted. I pulled into a gas station off the highway to sleep for an hour in my truck. I parked in the far corner of the lot and passed out almost instantly. When my alarm went off, the lot was empty. I got back on the highway. About 20 minutes into the drive, I heard a faint thumping sound. Behind me, I drive a pickup truck with an open bed. At first, I assumed it was tools shifting around, but the sound kept repeating. Not random, almost rhythmic. Then it stopped suddenly. A few minutes later, there was a loud crack, like something slamming into glass. I looked in the rearview mirror. There was a man standing in the bed of my truck. He was hitting the rear window with something metal. I swerved hard and nearly lost control. I managed to stop on the shoulder. Adrenaline took over. I jumped out and ran toward the back of the truck. The man climbed out and jumped down onto the pavement. He ran straight toward the tree line. I almost chased him, but it was completely dark out there. I had no idea if he was armed, so I got back in my truck and drove. About a mile down the road, I pulled over to check the damage. The rear window was covered in cracks. Then I noticed something in the truck bed, a small trash bag, tightly wrapped, wet. I didn't want to touch it, but I couldn't leave it there. I grabbed it and threw it into the woods. It smelled rotten. When I got back into the driver's seat, I noticed my hands were red, stained. I wiped them on my jeans and just drove home. I didn't call the police. I didn't tell anyone for weeks. But later I realized something. He must have climbed into the bed of my truck while I was asleep at that gas station and stayed there for 20 miles, waiting. That's the part that still bothers me. Not seeing him, not almost crashing, but knowing he was there the entire time, and I had no idea.